again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say
Good morning, welcome to NUFC Matters. It is the Monday Club on a Sunday, and Mag looks like I'm feeling, to be honest. I didn't have a drink yesterday either, and I feel hungover. That's how bad it feels. But look, this is what happens when you're going through transition as a football club. Newcastle United won, Bournemouth won, another draw, and ripples of booze around the ground, which I'm sure we'll come to in due course. Exactly. You're shaking your head. But this is your show. We will give you the opportunity to pop on. Anybody wants to come on and give us their views of what they witnessed yesterday, please do. But just before we bring our first caller in, Joe, your take on yesterday's game?
Yak. It was hard work, Steve. It was hard. Couple of flashes, in the first half. Joe Linton hit the woodwork. Good save from the goalkeeper. Kieran Trippier hit the woodwork. But it was awful, mate. And I can't fluff it up anymore. I thought they came they were happy with a point. They were clearly happy with a point. We won the World Championship for going sideways. If there was a trophy for passing the ball from one side to the other without actually moving it forward, we'd have won the World Cup years ago. We lacked creativity. We lacked anything in the middle of the park. We did our usual thing of absolute devoidance of a plan B. Bournemouth were fully aware of that. And as Mr. House said on Match of the Day last night, we just got silly and desperate towards the end. We seem to be playing with these wingers, and I'm not here to have a go at Miguel Almiron and Ryan Fraser, but whenever we get into those positions, Steve, we just seem to be devoid of the ability to cross a ball properly. Their goalkeeper looked like, he looked like Gordon Banks, didn't he? I felt so sorry for Isaac. Cracking penalty, by the way. Great finish. Pleased for the lad to get off the mark at home. But I don't know, Steve. It was flat. It was a strange atmosphere. Even leaving Middlesbrough yesterday morning, the roads were quiet. The train station was quiet. The train was quiet. Got to St James's Park. I was a conversation with a couple of the guys at the food bank, and the buzz just wasn't there, and rightly so. The country's in mourning, and I understand that some things are more important than football. But I tell you what, Steve, it was interesting, just in and around the bar, talking to some of the guys, that slight, and I'm just going to say it, I get dog's abuse for being controversial on here, but slight grumblings about Mr. Howe and these tactics that he's absolutely insistent on playing. And yes, when it's effective, it's very effective. Wasn't very effective yesterday, Steve, and it wasn't very effective against Crystal Palace either. So yeah, are we turning into the draw specialists? I've got a couple of people that, my daughter last night when I came in said, it's better than getting beat though, isn't it? And I said, yeah, fair enough. I like your optimism, but it was crap. It was absolutely crap, and I can't say anything other.
Yeah, Eddie Howe said the same. Our performance was below the level we set ourselves. We played in front of them too much. And, he felt as frustrated as everybody else. He said, I felt we were off in every aspect of our game. It was a difficult watch towards the end. And, he also said we needed to do a lot better to break them down. So Eddie Howe was as disappointed as us. We'll bring in our first caller. Good morning, Darren.
Hello, boys. All right.
Yeah, good to see you, Darren. Just a big thank you as well. Darren won the raffle at the Dog and Parrot yesterday, and he donated his winning Supermax sign program to the food bank. I dropped that off with Bill Corcoran. I've seen he's tweeted it out there, so that's going to go into another raffle to raise money for the food bank. So thanks for that.
Brilliant,
Darren.
mate. Brilliant.
Not a problem. Yesterday, I think you're just sitting there on the head. It was flat. Even like I was in 10 minutes before the game. No music getting playing, and it was any buzz or nothing there. It was a strange, atmosphere yesterday. The fans stuck with we weren't we didn't boo them, but we were there positive to the last 20 minutes. I think, and that's when you kind of knew we weren't going to score. Really, we got lucky with I've seen the penalty decision. I think it's harsh because if that's against us, you kind of say, well, really? Do you know what I mean? But I'm glad if it's for us. But we won't go second half. We've done nothing at all second half. Amaron, I'm sure he's playing FIFA on the PlayStation because he doesn't know what he's doing. He keeps going back and forward. I thought we were playing rugby sometimes too. The side got passing, but he kept whipping the balls in the box and nothing happening. But I don't understand Eddie Howe's subs. He's bringing Chris Woods on 2 minutes before the end of the game. If he wants to win the game, he should bring him on, say, 15 minutes or 10 minutes before the game.
Well, that's it, Darren. I mean, for me, the tactic is very clear. Get it out to Almiron, get it out to Fraser, and get it in the box. And you know, it takes 87 minutes to bring your big target man on. You know, it's very, very strange. I agree with you with Almiron. You know, people, we were talking on here a few weeks ago about effort and endeavour and looking quicker and sharper, and that's fine. But if all it means is we just run round in circles for a bit longer, no one's affecting the football match. We've got nothing.
Yeah, Malcolm McDonald obviously does the pre-match and after-match at the Dog and Parrot, and he's not an Almiron fan. And you know, there wasn't one crossing yesterday, Darren, from Almiron, and you know, he's losing patience with him. And I think ultimately, you know, that there will be changes, and I think the next transfer window will probably see the changes in the midfield that we want. And if Leicester continue in the same vein of form, I think we might see one of those players come from Leicester. Hopefully a Maddison or a Tielemans, because we need it. We desperately need it, Darren.
Yeah, I think Jolin's been great, but yesterday he was nothing at all in midfield. I can't even pick a man of the match out yesterday personally, because anyone stood out and said they had a good game. I know Bruno had he come off. He won a few balls in the first half. We should never have got.
He wasn't fit. He's not fit.
No, but even the set pieces, the corners, the amount of set pieces we had, we did nothing with them. There were just nothing crosses wanted. Do you know what I mean? The corners were like Dan Burn, Shaw. They're not. I don't know. It's just
eight corners we had yesterday.
Yeah,
we've done nothing. Like it's just. I don't agree with people booing at the full line whistle. I think we're being spoiled. Like Man City with the level, and Peterson the drone, but it's like you see this transition. It's going to take time to get players in. Amron's not going to be young, realistic in the next couple of years, and Fraser's not going to be young. But it's going to take time. But Peter's going to have patience. But compared to last year, we got 8 points instead of in 40 December. Peter's got to be a little bit more patient.
Yeah, John says Burn, man of the match. Yeah, he was my man of the match for Newcastle. I think overall, man of the match, was Bournemouth. I thought Lewis Cook had a great game, and Billings for me was man of the match. Number 29, he was wearing. For those of you who don't know who he is, he's the kid who scored the goal. He was immense yesterday, and that's not the first time he's come to Newcastle and played a blinder. Like he's just a big awkward guy to play against. He just does his job. He's a spoiler. But he got a goal as well. He deserved it yesterday. Joe Linton, Kenny thought he had a decent game. But again, it's all about opinions, Kenny. It was a bad day at the office for everybody because Bournemouth made us look bad. And credit to the manager who's currently in the dugout at Bournemouth for getting them back onto that kind of mindset. And, a lot of the pre-match predictions, it's funny, I've watched some of the other podcasts this morning when I got back in the house just beforehand, and I do like watching fan cams. It's not something we do, and you're always putting yourself out on a limb doing them, because you can open yourself up on a podcast for ridicule by saying, well, I think we're going to win this now. We all predicted a big scoreline. Me, Malcolm and Gibbo on Thursday, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, without knowing what the squad was. When I saw the team yesterday, my prediction would have been a lot different. Of course it would be, because, no ASM, no Wilson equals no creativity, because Bruno isn't a creative midfield player. He's done well in his time at Newcastle, come up with some wonderful goals. But you've mentioned it, Darren, Joe, you've mentioned it already. Lack of strength in depth is the biggest problem we have. But the Eddie Howe comment, as well, and I heard it a few times, some people, and of course there was a ripple of boos from probably people who've just got a season ticket for the first time. There is that little, scratching your head moment with some of the subs, and you say about bringing Wood on, Darren. But why don't you bring him on a bit earlier? You could have brought him on in the first minute, mate, and he still wouldn't have got any service, because Ryan Fraser, Jacob Murphy, and Almiron, they can't get a decent cross in between the three. The best crosser of the ball plays right back for us, and that's Kieran Trippier. That we are still building, and I think we need a bit of a reality check. We got it yesterday, and we've got 2 weeks now, to get it right for Fulham and to come up with another plan.
It's interesting though, Steve. They're even talking about Trippier, and know everyone before you go into meltdown. I'm not going to slag Kieran Trippier off, but talk about one-dimensional tactics. Yet again, you've hit the nail on the head. Let's side to side to side. Let's find Trippier and hope he can whip something in. And if I'm an opposing manager, it's meat and drinks. It's basic football, isn't it? And particularly if you've got some big centre halves. I mean, even yesterday, me and the old fella just looking at each other, we're playing balls up to Ryan Fraser, and you're just thinking to yourself, it defies belief. You can see what Howe's doing. You can see they're playing in these little pockets and these little triangles and trying to create a space. Arsene Wenger did it for years. Guardiola's the absolute master of it. The difference between those teams is they've got the quality, and what we were absolutely devoid of yesterday was quality. There's nobody with that killer pass. There's nobody with that touch, and you can absolutely see why. We were looking at players like James Maddison, because we need somebody to be able to unlock something. And yes, I'm not his biggest fan. I've never been his biggest fan. We're clearly missing Saint-Maximin. I'm more than happy to admit that. But again, if it's the Saint-Maximin that only turns up once in every 6 games, it's, what have we got? We've got nothing.
Yeah. That's a point Junior Turner's making in the chat. Yeah, he's inconsistent. Anything else you want to add, Darren?
No, that's pretty much like say, like I feel a bit like say I just feel like low, because I was looking for the match yesterday, and like I was going to go out for the pint afterwards, but I didn't, because I was disappointed in the game. I went straight home, because I don't know, it was just it's what I think you've got to brush it off, forget about it, and move on next week, and then just hope we will improve, and people's got to get the wake up call, so instead of booing them, just get behind them a little bit more.
Yeah, we're just trying on games like this. You're literally trying to find the positives. Isak's penalty, probably the biggest positive. We didn't get beat. A game we probably could have lost. A few seasons ago, and it's another point on the board. That's it. There's not many more positives you can take. And Dan Burn again, immense at the back. We do look solid as a defensive unit.
We just fell asleep for their goal. That's the only thing. With like 1 second careless, but fell asleep for their goal. He was well on side.
Yeah, he was.
He was home. Yeah. They were home for the offside flag. But the concentration, they come for the draw, and they got it. So well done to them. Got the tactics right.
John Askew says we still haven't got a replacement for Wilson. Whatever Isak is, he's definitely not a striker. 100%. I can see them playing together, those two. And Junior Turner says man of the match should have been Amanda Staveley, going on the pitch and stilettos and not going down.
Yeah. She did well.
Darren, as always, mate, thanks for coming on.
Hey, man, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Bye-bye. If you want to join us, the link is in the chat. And always happy to hear your views. We're bringing back somebody who many of you who watched the early days of NUFC Matters during lockdown will remember. It's good morning to Babu. How are you, son?
Hello. How are we doing, guys? How are we doing?
Very good, mate. The one man I am delighted to have on a panel this morning where it's doom and gloom. Everyone's going. It's the end of the good times, and we haven't even won anything. And you get Babu on, who always manages to inject a bit of a smile, a beaming smile. So how are you, mate?
Thank you. I appreciate it. But the funny thing is, like, I'm thinking yesterday, I was on the chat with the guys in the group, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're going down." And I'm like, it wasn't like 2 years ago before we were always playing 5 at the back. Now teams are playing 5 at the back against us. We are not used to playing against teams that are shutting the door and packing the bus. And I was watching and I was like, oh my God, it's the 60th minute. Bournemouth are shutting it down. They're playing 5 at the back. They are not giving us any chances. And you could see that we had never planned for any team to actually park the bus. Because Miggy, Willock, and Trippier were on the right the whole time in the other opponent's half. And I was watching and I was like, this feels odd because I'm used to being on the opposing end of this kind of game, watching us defend for our lives. And I'm watching it and I go, this is why it's odd, because we've never had to play that way. And when we're not on counter-attacking, it is confusing because every time the ball goes to Miggy, he'll pass it back to Trippier. Trippier will look around, they pass it back to Shah, they put it to the other side. And then they brought on Longstaff, and Longstaff just did the same thing. And I was like, right, the game plan now is to figure out how to play against teams that park the bus. Because when we were playing City, and City were coming for us, it was a good game because that's our game plan. Counter-attack at pace, quick, hard, hit it, go. This one, we're just like, we have no idea what to do now. Because the way they played, they were so tightly compact that you couldn't even pass the ball between the players. And it was shocking because Bruno ran out of ideas. Willock ran out of ideas. We started taking shots from distance. And everyone, it's very funny because the entire stadium was like, shoot when Shah got the ball, and then he shoot, and everyone will go, oh. And then they'll get Willock, shoot. Willock will shoot, and everyone goes, ah. And I'm like, they are doing exactly what you told them to do, and it's still not enough. So I am very eagerly looking forward to the next transfer window. And I think we should not, this might be an unpopular opinion, but we should not prioritize James Maddison because that's just going to be a huge knock on our finances. I know. That's why I say it's going to be, because we need to get like 2 or 3 players that can give those passes, not one. Because if Maddison gets injured, we're back to square one, right? And that's not what we want. We don't want that one tunnel vision thinking. I'm not sure Maddison has like an injury-prone record, but it doesn't sit well with me for us to focus so much on having one player. Because on the chat yesterday, some guys are like, oh, without ASM, we have no creativity. And I'm like, no. One, ASM needs the passes too. He takes on a lot of players, but as you've said, every 1 in 6 passes is probably a good one. The rest of it, he either loses the ball. So we don't need one player. We need like 3. And we need 3 in different positions. So you can't go like right. Because I know for a fact that Issa can play on the left, because as soon as Wood came in, I think he moved to the left on the wing, and I was like, okay, we have a replacement for that if Wilson comes back. So we need 3 players that can actually pick a pass. We don't have a Benucci because I don't understand why they keep giving the ball to Shah in the opponent's half. Like he's going to throw a killer pass because we know he's not that kind of player. So we just need to figure out the 3 passes, the 3 players we can get that's going to inject that creativity. And unfortunately, I do not necessarily believe that the answer is just James Maddison. Because look at what Brighton did with Cucurella and Caicedo. And all. They are getting them on the cheap and they are selling them for mega bucks. So the idea of saying, right, we want to spend 60 million on James Maddison, and if he breaks his leg, look at what happened to Pogba when he went to Juventus. Went there, had an injury the whole season. They are just paying him wages. And he gets to go to the World Cup. I would take that deal.
Some great points, Babu, and people are appreciating them in the chat as well. Joe, what do you make about what Babu said?
Babu sounded like Mike Ashley there. Did you just say buy players for cheap and sell them? We're going backwards.
No. Look. Let's be honest with
That's
ourselves.
what you said. That's what you said.
We need to have that money in the bank. We can't just be like the club is just going to run off some like grand. I don't want to say sugar daddy because that's basically what it is now. They're just coming like here's the money. We don't want sugar daddy. We want to have a club that can run itself. So if anything happens to the PIF, we are not, I don't want to swear, but yeah, you get what I mean. Yeah. So you need to be able to move on players, because one thing that's going to happen is people are going to come for your players when they are good. And if we had sold Longstaff for the 50 million when Man United were offering, I am very sure we'd have 50 million in the bank for James Maddison. Now you see my point. So we're actually shooting ourselves in the foot, buying players that are expensive and letting them go on free transfers or anything because we're just losing money.
I think you're right, and I think the interesting thing in what you're saying is, yes, do we break the bank on one person? What we're seeing is it's the same thing we've seen for the last couple of years. Unfortunately, it's the quality of the squad. So I understand: do we buy 3 better players than what we've got now, or do we just put it all on black and hope for the best, you know? So I totally understand that. I would hope, my hope is that we get Maddison and De Bruyne and Mbappe and Neymar and everybody else, but we're not there yet, and we're not going to be there for a couple of years, arguably. So yeah, do we start to look at the Jacob Murphys of this world, the Matt Ritchies of this world, the Ryan Frasers of this world, and start to kind of replace better, Sean Longstaff et al. Because you're right, we talk a lot about the over-reliance on Alan Saint-Maximin. Mm-hmm. Would we create further reliance on someone like James Maddison? I'd like to think, and we can all clearly see we've got nothing. We're devoid of ideas going forward without Wilson up top. Wilson's excellent at kind of pulling people away and creating space for people. We haven't had that last couple of games, so yeah, let's maybe we do need to start to think about that squad a little bit. But I'd take them all. Let's dare the dream. We're going to what we know is we're going to have to do something. And I think if January comes and we sign Maddison and Diaby, that'll do.
I think that would be a great window if we can sign both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just worried about the next game because Mitrovic has a habit of just like, if he can bully Van Dijk, Dan Burn doesn't stand a chance. I'm sorry. I love you, Dan. I hope you never see this, so you never have anything against me, but I would not like to go against Mitrovic. He's very much like a dangerous player now. And that's what's so annoying about like the entire like transfer saga and the players we're missing now, because we had Mitrovic and we went, nah, you're a bull in a China shop. You got a red card in like 5 minutes. Yeah. We also let Cabaya, Remy Cabaya, that one too left, and all of a sudden he became magical. What was the other French guy?
Marino
became went magical, and I'm there like, we've just been losing money. And I think if we go for the situation of right, okay, Fraser, you've not been able to cross in the box. Murphy, I'm not sure what Murphy is doing because he looks like he's always taking a shot, but he thinks it's a cross midway through, so he kind of does not make a decision. And that's the most frustrating part about it. I'm like, Jacob, if you make a decision, stick with it. You trying to shoot and then halfway through being like, I was going to pass, it doesn't look like you know what you're doing. So I hope we can start building on the players. I mean, if someone offered like 5 million for Matt Ritchie, I'll be like, take it.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, this. I'm going to bring this up, White, because you've mentioned that. Dark by Designs put a few good points in. Howe still keeping his mates in a job. Fraser, 3 goals in 3 years. Ritchie on the bench, way past it. And a knackered striker with 8 goals last season. Everybody knows Longstaff's not good enough, but he has a new contract. We have 6 players that can play left back, and we give Dummett a new contract. Really good points. Really good points. And I'm not making this into a let's all have a pop at Eddie Howe kind of thing. But, the club make the decisions on those kind of things along with Eddie Howe.
Yeah. And also, I think, like, it has been a very short time to start, piling on Eddie Howe because he's got a lot of problems to fix. Like, he's got 12 years of problems to fix. So he's been in there too. I mean, we went... Was it last season or the season before? We went 11 games without a win, or like half the season without a win, and we still survived. That is a miracle work.
It is. Are you okay to stay on, Babu? I'm going to bring Dunnell in.
Yeah.
Okay. Dunnell, good morning.
Good morning. Morning, everyone.
Morning, mate.
Yeah. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. I did manage, as I say, I do watch some of the other podcasts. I was watching the pre-match. You were the same as everyone else, Dunnell, yesterday. You thought it was going to be a decent win, few goals in the bank, and we're all going to go home happy. Didn't quite work out like that, mate. You've probably heard what the guys have been saying. What's your take on it all?
Yeah, basically, just to put a different spin on it, Bournemouth set us a puzzle, right? We're going to defend deep. let's see what you've got. And we basically solved the puzzle with VAR assistance via a penalty because we did not manage to break them down. And I felt up front we were devoid of ideas. It was like line dancing up front, to the left, to the right, and there was no changing it up. And also when Jacob Murphy put in the second half, putting those balls into the box, there was nobody making that. We didn't have that movement in the box where we missed, i.e. Callum Wilson. There was nobody gambling, to get in there. And as I noticed, there's been a pile on Isak as well. Isak hasn't had a chance yet to build a chemistry with anybody. You need to give him time to build that chemistry. And I've noticed a bit of a meltdown. No need for that meltdown. Yes, it was a bad day at the office. School report, must do better. And that's all.
Yeah, that was my tweet. Fulham and Brentford up next. The Saudis are watching. They take second place to nobody. How long before they do a City or a Chelsea and pull the trigger? They won't keep pumping hundreds of millions in for a win, says Dark by Design. Again, some interesting points from you this morning. Look, Joe, it's not doom and gloom. Look, we haven't lost 5 on the belt. Somebody put, again, this is giving you a little bit of context here, but 46 points in the last 12 calendar months, playing with this formation in this way. Eddie Howe has done a great job.
Absolutely, undoubtedly. We mentioned it there, didn't we? The job, the miracle of last season is absolutely fine, Steve. And listen, when Newcastle United fans, nothing's ever good enough. We know that. But how long does it go on? The comments there that were in the chat there, I would like to think that the days of making questionable off-field footballing decisions, don't forget all of those decisions were made before Dan Ashworth came in, and I'd like to think Dan Ashworth now has got a real handle on the football operations. So maybe you won't see any more contracts for Paul Dummett and Matt Ritchie et al. I understand why those things were done. The squad was already paper thin, and then for us, if we'd have cleared the decks of those 5, 6, 7, 8 players that we all think need to go, we wouldn't have a squad. We'd be going into the under 15s and open for the best. So it's that work in progress, Steve. But listen, nobody wants Eddie. No one in their right mind wants Eddie Howe out. I completely understand that now we're in the absolute. It's a very different world that we live in now. And yes, Al Ramayan and PIF will want results. That's what they bought our football club for. Is it time to sack Eddie Howe? Absolutely ludicrous. But I think what we want to say, what we want to see, or certainly, what I want to see is, where's the plan B, Eddie? When do we stop taking Almiron off and putting Murphy on and hoping that that'll make a difference? When do we stop taking Willock off and bringing Longstaff on? I know that's all he's got to work with at the moment. So again, like we've always said, let's get our first team out. The first thing we need to do is get Gumares fully fit. We need Botman embedded in that side for me. We need Callum Wilson fit, and we need a role for Isaac and Sam Maximin. Then we can have a discussion about how good Newcastle United are, because we're a hell of a lot better than we were yesterday, and we're a hell of a lot better than we were against Crystal Palace. So let's judge it then. Let's not panic. Let's not boo the lads off. Yeah, I understand we're frustrated. Nobody was more frustrated than me. Like Darren said, all I wanted to do yesterday was get on the train and go home. And thanks to LNER, we were sat in Newcastle Station for an hour and 10 minutes. But
to compound the day.
There are other train companies available. Let's write it off. Dunel's right. It was a crap day at the office. We all have them. We have them every day of our lives. Let's hope we can get some players fit, and let's hope we can go to Fulham and stick it to them.
Yeah, okay, I'll give a quick shout out to our sponsors before we'll move on. Skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website www.skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Darren Baldwin Funerals, 304 Old Durham Road, 0191 478 2730, and darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk is where you can find them. Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD, hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.thegwhd.com. And thanks to 3 Properties, who specialize in sourcing investment properties for their clients who are looking to invest in the Northeast. They offer a full in-house service from sourcing the deals to managing the properties for you. They've done over 100 plus deals in the past 12 months for clients all over the UK. Give the guys a follow on Instagram, matty.patter, Northeast Property, and phil.reed_Northeast Property, or email phil@3property.co.uk if you're interested in getting a good property deal. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at mrvickies.co.uk and 01768 210 102. Thanks to Media Arts as usual for all the help with the video side of things. Thanks to QTech Shop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. If you want to subscribe, hit the NUFC Matters logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can subscribe for free. Hit the thumb up underneath to like the video and click share to your social media. Drop into the comments box to pose a question or to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify. If you want to make a donation, just click thanks underneath and you can make a small donation, or you can click join, which joins the podcast. And if you want to become a cult member and get a cup, a pen, a membership card, and a scarf and entry into the monthly draw, then go to NUFCmatters.com and you can join today, or put your smartphone over the QR code. It takes you straight there. We do give you a free car sticker. If you want to drive around with one of them on the back of your car, then email john@nufcmatters.com. And we still support the food bank. NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk is the virtual bucket. Please make a donation today if you can. Quick shout out for this event as well. The Terrace Club in Seaton Delaval is hosting an evening with Supermac Pie P Supper Friday the 11th of November. Tickets are a tenner. Give them a ring on 0191 237 0133. And lots of you asking about the Peter Beardsley event, which sold out in 1 minute at the Tynemouth Surf Cafe. There will be another one. We're going to announce it next week. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And we are having a bit of a get-together. If you live in Newcastle or you want to travel, we're having a get-together of NUFC Matters, Newcastle fans at the Irish Club. Tickets are £2 on the door. All proceeds to Food Bank. It's just a get-together. Nothing special. But me, Steve Hasty, I think Joe's going to pop along, Keith. Just get yourself along just to celebrate 1 year of the ownership at Newcastle. And the Food Bank T-shirt this week is the signed Rob Lee T-shirt. It's pinned at the top of my Twitter profile at Steve Wraith. The John Beresford one last week raised £45 for the Food Bank. So anybody wants to bid for that, it's pinned at the top of my profile. Get yourself on there now. Place a bid. Winner will be announced on Friday. Okay, Joe, I am going to ask a question to the three of you on screen. And now that we've seen Newcastle, navigate the first part of the season, we've seen some ups, we've seen some downs, we've seen some VAR nightmares. What represents success, Joe, for you for Newcastle this season?
Not being embroiled in a relegation battle, Steve, not going to St. James's Park every week with that, that feeling you get in the pit of your stomach that you just know that, Watford are going to turn us over, or, just having that hope. I think we are, let's be honest, we've been bang average for every, I don't want to pin the whole season up to now on a draw against Man City, which, yes, was a fabulous performance and a fantastic result. We're bang average. We're 10th in the Premier League. The table tells us we're average. We are average. We know there's work to do. We know that the personnel needs changing. But for me, Steve, success, as much as I'd love to say it's finishing in the UEFA Cup or whatever it's now called, Europa Conference, Zenith Data System Trophy, whatever it is. I think for me, Let's just not be going into the Christmas fixtures thinking, oh my God, we're getting relegated. If we're going to finish 10th this season, we're going to finish 10th at the moment without an influx of players in January. That looks about right for us. So that's progress. That's better. We've broke our transfer record. Gumares is settling more and more into the English game. We've signed Sven Botman. We've signed England's goalkeeper. We've had a fantastic summer, let's not forget. So let's just keep it going. Success for me, no relegation battle. And if we can get anywhere between, 12th and 8th, I'll be absolutely delighted.
Yeah, okay, because Tom has chucked a question in as well, asking where you think we'll finish. I don't think any of us have been completely unreasonable with that. I think we all feel 10th would be an improvement. It definitely would be. Dunnell, from your perspective, what represents success for Newcastle this season?
Success for Newcastle this season, obviously, if we stay at the right end of the table, nowhere near the relegation places, the relegation trapdoor, and also if we have a good run in either or both of the cups, we get past, we get, towards the latter stages, quarter, semi-final, that would be success as far as I'm concerned. But as I say, there's another January transfer window coming up, so if we can pull some rabbits out the hat there, who knows? So that
okay, and where did you think would finish this season, Dunnell?
Where did I think? I thought between, say, 9th, 10th, something like that. I was so, not quite top 6 yet. We don't quite have the personnel, because what I was say, first 11 is fine, but as we all know in the Premier League, it's a squad game. It's not about the first 11 you put out. It's about the pool of 25 players you've got at your disposal. So if number 1 choice is injured, can number 2 choice be an able deputy?
Mm-hmm.
We ain't got that yet. And until we get that, we can, not dream of the higher end of the table just yet.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Same question to you, Babu.
For me, anything in the top 10 is a good season for me. 3 good signings, like objectively good signings, not the one where we're like, right, he's fast, but he can't cross. No, we're done with players like that. Thank you. We've had enough. We've been keeping them all on the books. We need 3 good signings, a top 10 finish. Anywhere in there will be fine for me. I don't really care as long as we're in that top 10 and we consistently get into that top 10. Because we're consistently finishing above the relegation places for a couple of years. So when we get into the top 10 here, and actually improved club facilities and signings for the future, I think there was a very marked improvement in the social media engagement once the PIF took over. And we could all see it. Then we started getting videos of training sessions, videos of this, interviews. Before, all that was dead. So now we're getting more club engagement, and I expect that to continue moving forward. And Daniel was right when he said we need a pool of 25 players, because what City has is if somebody is on the bench or they take someone off that pitch, whoever is coming on is even meaner than the last one, and that person is coming in with a full tank. Last game, when they brought Jacob Murphy on, we're like, oh, okay, let's see what he'll do. When you take off, I don't know, when you take off Mahrez in City and bring on someone else, you're not going like, oh, let's see what he's going to do. You're like, right, how can we stop him from affecting the game? And until we have players like that, I think finishing in the top 4, top 5 is going to be very difficult. We need to consolidate our position. And the only way we can do that is starting to sign reasonable players, not one-trick ponies, because that's just, unfortunately, and I'm sorry to drag on, but ASM is gonna wear out soon because we can't keep relying on one player. So we need that thing to start working now.
Yeah, well said. Morning, Paul. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, very good. Got home late, but
yeah. Well, that's it. That's what you have to do sometimes to
I.
watch Newcastle. What represents success then, Paul, for Newcastle this season?
a change in mentality, I think. I mean, yesterday we played so many sideways balls and backward balls. Lee was sitting next to us and he was getting a little bit agitated because, I mean, there was ones where they were bursting into the box. We couldn't get the ball past the first player, and it was a bit deflated. But the seats we had, we were in the Platinum Club, and that was a nice experience. So we're going to do it again.
Very good. Yeah, the Platinum Club's nice. It's where I sit. And to be fair, you know, you always get a good view, good atmosphere, some nice people in there as well, mate. And it's yeah, we've got a good deal in there. But yeah, look, it is interesting, you know, to see the way that the atmosphere has changed, Joe. Just with this one result. Social media is never a good place to judge, but just watching some of the other, you know, the Vox Pops on podcasts, reading some of the stuff that's out there online on some of the websites that do, you know, still do articles and that kind of thing, the fanzine websites, there is a little bit of grumbling, Joe. But the atmosphere is the next thing I want to talk about. And Kenny Ranson made a really good point in the chat there about the fact that we are a nation in mourning and that it was a little bit different yesterday and it was flat. And I guess that means we have to pay even more respect to what War Flags actually do, because along with Rob Byron, the stadium announcer, who is such a great DJ, it has to be said, with a wide range of music, we've got our pre-match really, really, you know, spot on. And without that yesterday, it was like being a man down from the start.
Yeah, it was, Steve, and it's really great that you mentioned War Flags there, because you know, they've essentially brought the buzz back to the stadium, haven't they? There's something about expectation. There is certainly something about you know, we've been taken over, and we thought, you know, we were signing Messi and we were winning the Premier League with 100 points this year. So, you know, with Eddie Howe doing well, with PIF owning us, with signing £63 million centre forwards, expectation goes up. Of course it does. But yesterday, yeah, the atmosphere wasn't there, you know, and you found yourself singing along the kind of ballads instead of getting stuck into Hey Jude, you know. So yeah, it was very, very strange. And we know that, you know, historically, you listen to people talk about St James's Park, even players and managers that haven't been associated with the club. And what do they talk about? You know, this mythical kind of 12th man. You know, we're the 200th man. You know, when the Gallagher gets going, the ground gets going. You know, the Prawn Sandwich Brigade in the Platinum Club with the polite applause. I had to. But no, there was genuinely all that was missing. All that was missing yesterday, Steve. And it's like I say, you know, St James's Park can be a funny place because not only can we get behind the team and get them going and get them kind of, you know, marauding forward, doesn't take much for us to get on the backs either, you know. And when it goes quiet, I mean, let's be honest, and fair play to them, I'm not out to cause a riot, but when you've got 1,200 Bournemouth fans singing your support is not very good. That summed it up for me yesterday. You know, we shouldn't have even seen him, never mind heard him, you know. So yeah, I can see where the grumbles and groans come from. But as you said earlier, you know, for those people who've been watching this football club for many, many years, if they think this is bad, God help them, you know. So yeah, just it was flat, and I think that feeds on the players.
Yeah, Babu, I think the celebration that we saw from Isak, I think I felt it was a little bit over the top for a penalty. But I guess that shows what Joe's saying is right, that there was definitely that feel from the players. They've all experienced the atmosphere, the flags, how fantastic it is. The players walking around the pitch, applauding the fans, etc. But that was the worst atmosphere we've probably had since Steve Bruce's days. And you know, I think
that's saying something.
Yeah, it is. And I think that reflected in the celebration. You know, Isak was telling the supporters, "Come on, get behind us. We can do this." You know.
Yeah, no, I think it was very odd because I think one of the commentators also just said like this is not what a St. James's Park game sounds or feels like because there was no animation and I think there was just something off about the game because it started on such a somber note and like it's very difficult to get that many people from somber to excited for a game. So I understand completely why that was, and it is just a one-off, I hope. And there is nothing we can do about that. Next game, we're going to be singing from the ramparts and screaming down everybody's necks. Because I remember when we're losing to Man City, I think 4-0, and we're still away, and we're still out singing the Mancunians. Sorry, Mancunians. The Geordies are just better. Nah, I'm just being silly. But yeah, someone messaged me and he goes like, "Your club is crazy. You guys are losing 4-0 and you guys are still singing your lungs out." And I go like, that is what it is to be a Newcastle fan. It is not about the days when you win. It's about the days when you're getting hammered and you have to give the guys a bit of a push and a lift. And I lived next to the stadium for 6 years. Every day I watched the game, I could tell a goal had been scored before it went on TV because all I hear is and I'm like, okay, let's watch it now. Thank you very much. But you do understand what I mean. It is very, very difficult to move that many people from somewhere and it's just a one-off. And hopefully the next game we'll be singing our hearts out. Hopefully we won't be getting smashed by Fulham because that would not help. But
Yeah,
we're definitely growing and we're going from strength to strength. It takes time.
yeah, yeah, I agree. Paul, the atmosphere it was flat yesterday, wasn't it? And I think it was because of the start that we had, no flags and people paying their respects quite rightly to the Queen.
Yeah, I mean, when they all got into the centre circle, the only thing I could hear was a plane overhead, and obviously, what I did was I recorded the penalty on my phone, and it just you could hear Bournemouth more than you could hear us, and considering how many people there was there, I was quite surprised at that. But one thing I didn't hear was the boos at the end. I did clap them as they came round, but it was very surreal. It wasn't like when we normally have war flags, because there's excitement and everybody's buzzing, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think yesterday's game's like a one-off,
Yeah.
and we're just going to keep pushing forward. I think Eddie will be, saying to them on the training ground to keep pushing forward because we have superstars. It's just like ASM wasn't there, and we didn't have that spark
Yeah.
which he brings. And like we should have got another player in, but I think the board thought, well, we've done so much, and we'll just leave that for the next one in January.
Yeah, Donald, you're nodding away there. The atmosphere wasn't great yesterday, and I think somebody made a valid point. Somebody made a valid point earlier about sometimes it is an entertainment industry. It's and when the players don't entertain us, it can be difficult to get excited to cheer your team on. It shouldn't be like that, but it is. It's human nature, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, yesterday, part of the reason we understand because of the time we're in. It's and we've lost the most famous lady in the UK, if not on the planet, and it's a somber time for everybody. But again, as everybody's alluded to, it was a one-off. Let's put a line through it, on to the next one, and war flags will be out. And the next home game, it'll be a cauldron again. Yeah, okay. Yesterday it was a bit like a fridge freezer, but it'll be back to the cauldron again. that is St James's Park. But yeah, I mean, it's quite contrast for me as well. I was at that the game when we played City at home, and I was one thing that the war flags display was excellent. Shame about the result, but yesterday, obviously, different times, you know. What?
Yeah. Yeah, there's no correct. David says, I'm not a huge fan of Wood, but we did learn to win games without ASM last season with Wood starting, getting balls up to him. His physical presence does make a difference in games like yesterday. And I guess, Joe, we've come full circle, haven't we? We've come back to this team again. I am a fan of Chris Wood. I do see the benefit of Chris Wood in the team at times. That 9-game unbeaten run that Eddie Howe got, after having such a poor start as manager, it has to be said, while he was finding his feet, didn't get that managerial bounce that many do. But ultimately, Chris Wood played an integral part of that. But to get the best out of Chris Wood, we have to play a different formation, surely.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you know, the guy was extremely effective. And I'm not suggesting we play like that, but the guy was extremely effective playing in that very dirty, ugly Burnley side, wasn't he? You know, 4-4-2, up and at them, Sean Dyche, you know, it was like, you know, welcome to the 1980s and let's just get stuck in. He was, I tell you what, it was effective, and Chris Wood was scoring goals, as was Ashley Barnes alongside him. So, yeah, before everybody starts, I'm not suggesting that we start to play like Burnley. However, to play to someone's strengths, Steve, you're dead right. I mean, ultimately, you know, we spent £20 million on the guy, you know, and yes, he affects the games. The football purists will say the job of a centre forward is to score goals, and he doesn't score goals, therefore he's crap. But actually, in the modern game, I'm guessing, you know, there's a lot more to him, and you know, it's just a presence. Steve, the bloke's a nuisance. You know, I would hate to mark him. I bet you get battered all over. You know, legs and elbows and God knows what. You know, he was never going to be Mbappe, was he? Bless him. Let's be honest, but he does offer something else, and I wonder, as a true centre forward, some of those crosses yesterday. How many times are you thinking, get into the keeper? Where's the number 9? Where's the centre forward? Who's in the 6-yard box? People like Callum Wilson and Chris Wood are just automatically tuned in to do that. Maybe Isak and Miggy Almiron aren't, you know. So, you know, Steve, we've said it time and time again. I'm a fan of the lad. I certainly won't slag him off. He's effective at what he does. But, you know, we can re-sign Les Ferdinand, but if you're not going to cross the ball and put it to where he wants it, what's the point? You know, and the one goal he did score this season, you know, was it a Tranmere? What did we do? We whipped a killer ball into the box and bang, there you go. That's what I'm good at. And then we turn up in the Premier League, and what do? We don't bother doing it. Strange.
Yeah, I mean, Babu, I said yesterday, Haaland would struggle to score goals in Newcastle.
Yes, I feel like a lot of people took offense to that statement.
But you're right. But it's true.
You're right. I thought the same thing when you said it, but I was just like, let me not even say anything. To be fair, right? I was thinking that yesterday. I was like, these crosses are coming in, but there's no one. The keeper is just having a lovely time, just coming out, catching the ball, laying on the ground, no competition, no nothing. We know Wilson would have put up that fight. We know Wood would have put up that fight. The problem I saw was the substitutions came a bit late. And even when they came on, there wasn't a change in play, right? So, and forgive me, I'm not a coaching manager with all my badges, but Isak is fairly tall. Wood is fairly tall. Fraser is not. Miggy is average height. When you get both of them on the pitch, you put them to one side and you hit the ball long, and then you play for the drop. They put these two guys on the pitch, and then they start playing it to the wings and playing it back. And I'm like, all of that needs to stop as soon as the two big lads get on the pitch. You need to hit it long and you play for the second ball, because all you're doing is just frustrating them, because Isak and Wood will then be running from one half of the pitch to another. And then at a certain point, Isak had to drop down to almost the center circle to get the ball because there was no progression. So again, as I said, I'm not a qualified coach, but a number of these things kind of seem elementary. And if you're going to do that, don't bring on a player at the 89th minute. If I was a footballer, you brought me on at the 89th minute with no extra time, we'll be having words at the end of that tunnel, because I'm like, I'm not here to do a 5-minute cameo and leave. I understand that, like, you know, you want to put on and play for but it's very demoralizing to, yes, 89 minutes, yeah, 6 minutes to go, yeah, get on. What am I going to do with 6 minutes? So we need to also factor in that we cannot try to change the game so late. I mean, I watched the whole Liverpool game, and I have never imagined in the 12 years I've been supporting Newcastle that we play 1-1 with Liverpool till extra time. Like, all we needed to do was refresh that back line with people that have better legs, and we would have drawn that game. But for some reason, we just left them on to keep getting attacked by refreshed players. And it's the same thing we had with Bruce, because Bruce always waited to the 70th minute, and then he'll bring someone that has no idea what is going on in the game, and he put in there, and I'm starting to see that happening, and I'm like, no, you had too much of this. No. Bad how? Bad. Don't do it. Change it. So I hope that eventually it changes, but we can't go back to that.
I enjoy reading some of the comments when we get into something like this, but in nitty gritty. And Paul says, I'd start Wood against Fulham and have Isak on the right, ASM on the left, if fit, obviously, if Wilson isn't. And I think a lot of people would go for that, Paul. Yeah. I'm not sure whether Eddie Howe would, though.
Well, I mean, it's a long way to go in the season. Plus, we got that break coming up, so anything can happen. Positivity. That's what we've got to be, positive.
Yeah. Kenny asks, is Isak good in the air? Kenny, I don't think he is. He's not a Chris Wood. But it doesn't matter because we don't cross the ball. Donald, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on what Paul said there? Wood against Fulham, Isak on the right and ASM on the left.
Gives us something different. By doing that, we give the Fulham back line a puzzle that they need to solve, and it certainly, as I say, another option. And see it as we've got Wood in the middle, and he nods it down. Need one of them two to, you know, gamble for that second ball. So yeah, why not? You know, gamble, give it a try. You know, freshens things up a bit. But obviously, you've got to put those crosses in. So that's the important
back to basics for me. Learn how to take corners. You know, we're okay with free kicks, especially those in and around that D outside. You know, Kieran Trippier, we've got that boxed off, but we need to start being a bit more creative with corners as well. 8 corners yesterday, nothing exciting at all from any of them, and we've got probably the largest. We've probably got the largest side we've had for many a year for corners.
Yeah, you did right, Steve. You know, and it's like I said earlier. If we're on the verge of trying to become Barcelona or Manchester City or Arsene Wenger's Arsenal or whatever, you have to be good enough to do it. You need Dennis Bergkamp, you know, you need Kevin De Bruyne. We ain't got it. So if you're playing to your strengths, maybe we do need to turn into Burnley. I don't know. You know, we're talking about, you know, we don't have the ability to unlock a door. And maybe Sam Maximin coming back might allow us to do that, and a fit Bruno Guimaraes. But at the moment, we ain't. So if you're playing with Ryan Fraser and Miggy Almiron, play with Chris Wood and cross the. I nearly swore there. Cross the ball.
Yeah, we saw it. It almost came out.
Well, time has beaten us, lads. Absolutely fantastic. Thanks to Darren who came on earlier. Thanks to Babbo. Thanks to Paul. Thanks to Donald. But of course, thanks to Joe. It's always good having the Monday club. The reason why I haven't got one on Monday is because I'm going to go down to London, pay me respects in person, in some way, shape, or form on the streets of London with the Queen. But I am back tonight, 6 o'clock. Myself, Mitch, and Stu Penman, the professional show, 6 till 7 tonight. Feel free to jump on. Set a reminder now. Don't miss it. Should be a good show tonight. But thanks to the panel. Been great to have you on, guys. Great to get back into having the panels, and look forward to seeing you all again soon. Take care.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.